Who's it?
None of your business. See you later.
I could hear screaming in the carriages. I couldn't see anything, it was completely dark. I didn't know if I was awake or asleep or just having a nightmare. And then I thought maybe, okay, I've actually died and I'm in hell. And then some smoke started drifting down the carriage. I could smell the smoke. So everyone got down to the floor where there was a floor remaining, because I think half the floor had been blown out anyway. The only other sounds were people screaming and crying. Some people didn't seem to be moving. I didn't realise there were 20-odd dead bodies around me. I was clawing at the door. I didn't want to die there. My daughter was about 6.5 years old. The main thing in my mind was just to get off there and get back to my daughter and make sure that I'd still be there for my daughter.
On Thursday, the 7th of July 2005, as millions of people make their way to work across London on buses, trains and tubes, 3 bombs explode within seconds of each other on 3 different underground trains. Many people are killed instantly. Hundreds more are horrifically injured. Emergency services rush to the scenes. The tube network is shut down. Less than an hour later, a 4th bomb explodes on the top deck of a crowded double-decker bus.
My mum never used to answer her mobile phone, so it wasn't until maybe about 9 p.m. that night that we realised something was wrong. My mum was really fun. She used to do really embarrassing things, like dancing around the house. But she was really, really kind. She was always giving away too much money or too much of her time, cooking massive meals for like everyone. I have so many relatives that are not really relatives, but because my mum had made so many friends, I was a complete mother's girl. She was like my best friend. My dad decided to take me and my brother to an uncle's house. I was 16, going on 17, and my brother was 13. He was gonna take her photo and basically go through every hospital in London trying to look for her. And when I woke up the next day at my uncle's house, I hadn't got a call from him or a text. Me and my brother went home because I felt like if she now tried to come home, there would have been no one at home, so I really wanted to stay at home and wait for her. Yeah, so that evening, which was Friday evening, the BBC News reported that my mum was one of 2 that were confirmed as dead. And we hadn't had that confirmation ourselves. My dad was like, we need to wait till we have official confirmation. I really had I'd held on to this notion that maybe my mum had really hurt herself and had got amnesia and just couldn't remember who she was and where she lived. And I had this thing that I used to sit at the living room window, because me and my brother used to do this when she was alive, waiting for her to come home. It wasn't until the Sunday afternoon that the police came and knocked on the door, and our house was completely jam-packed with people. I remember going upstairs and going into our bathroom and actually screaming, and I think I screamed so loudly that I'd fallen and hit my head on a radiator. And loads of my aunties rushed upstairs and my cousins, and they took me into my mum and dad's bedroom and had to hold me on the bed as I screamed. And to this day, my cousin still talks about it because we're really close, and she says that when she thinks about it, it makes her want to be sick because she'd never seen anyone cry like that. And I think that's probably when I really realised that she was gone and she wasn't coming back.
These were the first suicide bombings in Britain. 52 innocent people were killed. Over 700 were injured, many scarred and disabled for life.
if you'd asked me on that day how long before you get better, I might have said, give me a few weeks and I'll be back to normal. But it took more than a few weeks. Took more than a few years, in fact.
We lost our home, and for about 8 months I lived with my best friend. My brother was in North London somewhere. My dad was sleeping on buses. Suddenly I had become the mother in my family. I didn't almost have the time to grieve.
4 men had travelled together to London with homemade bombs in their rucksacks. 3 of the men were British, and the 4th had lived in the UK since childhood.
I was just over 25 and a young Imam at Leeds Makkah Mosque. One of the bombers, Jermaine Lindsay, lived only a few streets away from the mosque. Although he never attended our mosque, the fact that someone so close to here could have done such a terrible thing to fellow citizens, to fellow human beings, those people are affront to human dignity and an insult to God.
Terrorism has been carried out as a method by all sorts of different belief systems. The IRA in Northern Ireland, the Red Army faction in Germany, or direct action in France in the 1970s and the 1980s. It's a tiny minority of people.
What those 4 young men did and other people like them have done over the years is by no means representative of Islam.
I have family that are Muslim, and it's unfortunate that people who maybe follow that religion and are really peaceful get tired of this brush.
There's no one path for somebody to become a terrorist. Perhaps somebody doesn't feel like they belong in the society that they're in. You might have a social environment that, if you like, makes it easier to go down that path, whether it's friends who think the same as you, or friends that actually encourage you to think these thoughts even further. And also the internet and the social media has a significant influence today.
Hate preachers reach out to these young people who are actually looking for answers. Very slowly, gradually, they are using these young lives for their own political aims and gains.
By carrying out such attacks, they often think that they're going to paradise after life.
I just feel really sorry for them, and I feel really sorry for their families. I feel sad that you would cut your life short.
From an Islamic perspective, we believe that it's like losing faith, losing hope. They think that somehow things are going wrong politically at a global level, and by them murdering people, they can fix the problem. No matter how much you disagree with the policy, no matter how much you disagree with a particular government's action, you cannot take the law into your hands. We must allow young people to air their views, but it's like, then how do we channel that kind of emotion that they use the lawful and legal means to bring about that justice that we all really want to see in our world? A few weeks after, we had a walk of friendship where people of all faiths and no faith came together, and we walked around the streets of Leeds, really giving a very strong and loud message that we will not play to the tunes of terrorists who wish to divide us. When people come together to share bread, when people come together to share a meal, people open up and you learn about each other and you realize that we are very similar and our faiths are very similar.
To this day, I still feel very lucky and sad at the same time that the only reason I'm here is because there are 25 other people between me and the bomber. There's still guilt and sorrow that I'm here and they're not. You feel as if you owe it to them to make the most of what you've got.
I used to dream of her and wake up crying or screaming, or wake up and forgotten that she had died and would go looking for her. I guess I miss what we would have had now. And I really hope that when I have kids, that they will experience with me what I experienced with her, and just having that kind of friendship.
I've met a lot of good people since then, developed some very strong relationships, very trusted friends. So it's actually reinforced my faith in human nature, if anything.